Okay, so these are a few things that I think we need to think about before we take the exam tomorrow. If you've been in the review sessions the last 2 days, um, this is going to seem repetitive, but it doesn't hurt to listen one more time. The exam begins at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Please, please, please make sure that you are logged in at 1:30. The College Board, there'll be a series of questions they're going to ask you for security purposes. I'm certain that many of you will just be sitting there for a while waiting for the test to start. Make sure that you have your docs open. If you're going to use the Google, have Google Docs open. If you're going to type in Microsoft Word, have that open. If you're gonna handwrite, pencil and dark pen, make sure you do that. And please pay attention to your time. I've stressed this point a lot the last couple of days, especially if you are handwriting. Most of the issues associated with this have been with people not submitting on time. So make sure when the clock hits that 5-minute mark that you are actually submitting. When the clock starts and you get those documents and you're ready to go, make sure you can't spend more than 10 minutes thinking about it. I know this for many of you, this is challenging. This would be challenging for me. So you guys are much smarter than me. So make sure that you spend as little time as possible overthinking these things. You only need come up with 2 ways to divide the documents. That is my best advice for all of you. You're allowed to print the documents out, although again, to me that seems like a waste of time. Remember, you only have 45 minutes to write, 5 minutes to upload. Something we've talked about during the year is making it through an introduction, whether it's LEQ or DBQ, with 2 points, making sure that we're getting the 1 point for contextualization, 3 to 5 good sentences that set up the essay, the period that comes right before it. Think, how did we get here? Then also a good thesis that makes an argument. That is what the College Board wants to see. That is how you are being assessed. We're still going to use TAP plus R, take a position, and we're going to have 2 roadmap themes. You can do 3 if you want. You can do 3 and you might only get to 2. That's perfectly fine. Just lay out a very clear argument where there is no mistake what you are doing. And again, to go back to pre-context, again, the period right before the time period, and not just a general history, connect it to what the topic is. If the topic is about sectional tension, as it pertains to slavery, talk about what it was like, the tension that existed before that. How did we get to a point, whether it's in the 1840s or the 1850s, where all of a sudden this became attention? And what I would do is, have 2 specific pieces of evidence from that earlier time period that you use to discuss whatever it is you're writing about. Make sure when you're analyzing documents that you're using 4 out of 5. On the College Board's rubric, you get 1 point for using 1, 2 points for using 2, and 3 points for using 4. So make sure that you're getting to 4. Using 3 doesn't really help you, but also make sure when I say use the document, we're not quoting, and we are not just providing a summary and moving on. What is the main idea in the document? Most importantly, how does this document help prove the point I'm trying to make, in the argument that you're building? Make sure you're doing extended analysis of at least 2 documents. You get a point for 1 and 2 for 2. I would always try to do more. It's kind of like go back to the 4 out of 5 documents. If you can use 5 documents, use 5 documents. It doesn't hurt you. Same thing with extended analysis. Make sure that you are, again, be very, very clear what you're writing. The historical situation of document 1 is this. The intended audience of Abraham Lincoln is that. I would recommend doing it that way. You can get the points without doing it, but I'm telling you, you can almost trick the reader into thinking that you've done it just by using those words. At least 2. I would recommend getting it out of the way quickly if you do it in that first body paragraph. That way you don't really, it's not, there's not as much pressure on you. But again, just things to think about preparing the document. And again, make sure this connects back to your argument. That's the most important thing. I realize I've already said it multiple times, and I'm probably not done saying it. We talk about outside evidence. 3 things you need to do. Name it, define it, connect it. Okay? We need to do more than just saying an example of compromise in the 1850s was the Compromise of 1850. You need to identify it, tell me what it is. Tell me why it was necessary. And then most importantly, connect it back to your evidence. Think about like the way we do T's and Q's, right? So you're going to define something, you're going to talk about the significance, okay? Name it, define it, connect it. This is another one where you get a point for each one you do, up to 2. So this isn't like, when you took AP World last year and you had to do 1 in the whole essay. This is exactly what we've done all year. In each body paragraph, I would have an example. And again, the complexity, it's so confusing. It's just not an easy point to earn. So unless you have an obvious counter argument that comes into your head immediately, if you get 9 out of 10 points on the essay and the only thing you didn't do was complexity, you're going to get a 5. So this point it's so rarely awarded. I would not stress about it. If you spend more than 10 seconds thinking about it, move on. This is the long note from the College Board. I'm not going to read all this to you here. If you have not read this yet and you are planning on doing your tests electronically, and I'm going to put this in an email I'm going to send you in just a minute, make sure you read it. Please make sure your browser is updated. I worry about people who I know you've prepared and then you sit down to take the test and then all of a sudden you get to the end and there's something wrong with your browser and you can't submit it. Again, this is why I say when you get to 5 minutes and the clock goes red, move on to submitting. Even if you're like not quite finished, that's better than not getting anything in at all. And again, if something happens tomorrow, if you have a technical difficulty, your power goes out, your internet stops working, you submit too late, please email me immediately so we can start the process for doing a retake, which takes place on June 3rd. And then, of course, there's, for those of you, who are in the orchard and use fruit phones, and you plan on handwriting, this is important. Please change the setting on this before you even sit down to take the test tomorrow. Do it before 1:30. And again, like, follow these directions. I've sent this in another email. I'm giving it to you here. Please don't forget to do this. There's been a lot of issues with this. There haven't been a lot of issues according to the College Board, if you believe them. But I think this has been the most common problem. So please make sure that you are doing this before you take the test. And that's it. You are ready, and all of you are capable of being successful and earning some college credit tomorrow. I know this has not been easy for you. Know that I am proud of your effort and the level of maturity you have exhibited. I consider myself lucky to tell people that you are in my class. If you are not successful tomorrow, that's my fault. My job is to get you ready, regardless of the circumstances we find ourselves in. I will not use this is an unprecedented situation excuse. My job is to prepare you, period. Let me know how it goes tomorrow, and remember, how you do on one 45-minute exam should not impact the way you view yourself or the way you are viewed by others. It is just a test. The opinion I have of all of you is unshakable and will not change, regardless of what happens tomorrow. I wish all of you good luck. Let's finish with an animal. I wanted to end with a very special photo shoot that took place in August 2008. I was with my team, the Hampton Expeditionary Force, in Seychelles, off the coast of East Africa, shooting the parrotfish. Some interesting things about parrotfish. They are very bright and exist in groups called classes of between 25 and 30. It did not matter what the assessment was, they always impressed me. There are a battery of tests given to only the brightest parrotfish, QASs, QELs, and the dreaded QBDs. These fish showed that when you work hard, you almost always get the desired result. This particular trip was bittersweet for me, as I had decided to get out of the animal photography game to become a teacher. So this was my last photo shoot. You can see me there, photographing the parrotfish. We were right where the Somali Sea meets the Indian Ocean. Obviously, you can tell that is me. This was the last picture I took before retiring. This was the best decision I ever made. Sure, I am just in a different jungle or ocean, following a different type of animal now, but there is nothing I would exchange for the shortened time we have had together. Oh, The word "uoi" in the native tongue, it is used to describe something, usually a group of people, who bring so much joy and unlimited happiness into your life. It is something you would never trade away and could never forget. I hope all of the parrotfish never forget this photo shoot.